Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I'm really excited to introduce Ty and Charlene Bollinger. Ty Bollinger, you may have seen him if you watched The Truth About Cancer, A Global Quest, The Truth About Vaccines, and The Truth About Pet Cancer. Ty and Charlene have been huge advocates for holistic medicine that is science-based and that gets results, that helps people to support the body's ability to heal itself, to have a strong immune system, to fight cancer, and to overcome it. Now, they're not totally against pharmaceutical medicine. They just believe that the body has an innate wisdom and an ability to heal itself, and that there are many ways that we can support the body in beating cancer. They traveled around the world, interviewed experts who on a regular basis help people to heal cancer without chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. And these people go on to live long and healthy lives as a result. So Ty Bollinger and his wife have interviewed many of these experts, and they put together a beautiful docuseries called The Truth About Cancer, A Global Quest. You can watch it for free starting October 8th. They're streaming each episode each evening, so you'll have 24 hours to watch that particular day's episode. So they do this once in a while. They release it for free. I own it. I decided to purchase it when I first saw it because I wanted to share it with the friends and family in my life who are struggling with cancer and want to support their body's ability to heal it. My mom died of cancer, as you've heard if you've listened to the show, and so this is a very sore spot for me. I want to make sure that everyone has the information they need to prevent cancer, and if they should happen to have that diagnosis, to reverse it and then go on to live a long and healthy life. So if you want to be armed with these tools, go to learntruehealth.com/cancer. That's learntruehealth.com/cancer. And that'll take you right to the page to put in your email address, and that signs you up to watch it for free. There's absolutely no charge. You get to watch it for free when it streams live starting October 8th. And if you want to purchase it so that you can own the physical copies and share it with your friends, you can do that. I did it. I'm really happy I did. Because when a friend has a cancer diagnosis, I go over to their house with the DVDs. I also have the digital download, so if I don't live nearby, I send them my login so that they can watch it. And this has been so helpful to my loved ones who are looking to prevent and reverse cancer. So I love all of you guys. You are my listeners. I love you. You're my community. And I want all of you to have the same tools I have to prevent and reverse disease. So please go to learntruehealth.com/cancer, put in your email address, and let's all watch this together. Even if you don't think you'll ever have cancer, you know what? These tools, it's not just about cancer. These tools are about supporting the body's ability to prevent disease and to recover from disease should disease happen. And even if you have had cancer in your past, there's also information in The Truth About Cancer that these experts share about what you can do to support your body in not creating it again and in recovering from whatever treatments you've been through. So it's a wealth of information. I highly recommend going to learntruehealth.com/cancer, signing up to watch it absolutely free. Now, in my interview with Ty, he mentions one of the things he loves to do is sweat in a sauna. And it just so happens that the sauna, he did the same research I did and came to the same conclusion that the sunlight and sauna was the best choice for him. As you listen, if you decide to get a sauna, definitely call Sunlighten and ask them all the questions you have. about using a sauna to detoxify your body. I've been very happy with that company. And if you mention the Learn Through Health podcast, they will give you free shipping no matter which system you buy. And they'll also give you $100 off any accessories that you should purchase. My favorite accessory is this really comfortable pad that you can purchase for your wooden sauna. Should you get the wooden one, if you don't have room for a big wooden sauna, then get the Solo system, which is a portable sauna, and it is non-toxic and it's ultra low EMF, which is really exciting. You can listen. I've done 2 interviews about the sunlight and saunas. You can go to learntrail.com and just search sauna for access to those interviews, or just give the company a call and ask them all the questions you have. That is the one sauna company I really believe stands out from all the rest when it comes to supporting our ability to detoxify gently and safely on a continual basis. Excellent. Enjoy today's interview. Please share it with your friends who are looking to support their body's ability to no longer have cancer, because this information is absolutely invaluable, and I know you'll love learning from Ty and Charlene today. You'll also love learning from their entire docu-series for free starting October 8th. LearnTrueHealth.com/cancer. Enjoy. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 295. I am so thrilled to have both of you on the show today. I have followed your work. The truth about cancer really changed my life, and so did the truth about vaccines. I've shared it over and over again with my listeners. I know tens of thousands of my listeners. I have over 3 million downloads in my podcast. It's actually like 3.3 now. And I know that many of them have gone on to watch The Truth About Cancer, The Truth About Pet Cancer, The Truth About Vaccines. I am so moved by the work you do. And in fact, one of my friends who developed breast cancer, I bought The Truth About Cancer and we sat down and watched it together. And it was out of everything she learned that it helped shape her decisions around her care. And I'm happy to say she's still here today, and she's very strong, and she shrunk that tumor the size of a softball down to almost nothing. And so I'm so grateful for the work you do, and I'm honored to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for sharing, and that's really motivating for us, and it keeps us doing what we're doing. That's why we do this, is to help people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. For those who don't know who you guys are, I'd love to start by you sharing your story. What motivated you to travel around the world and dedicate all of the time and invest your time and money into filming these experts so that you could create these docu-series to educate people on how they could prevent cancer, help their body to restore itself so it doesn't have cancer, to educate us around vaccines and eliminating pet cancer. What happened in your life that had you want to do this as your career?
Everything great has a strong core and a foundation at the beginning. And ours started really when I was just a little girl dreaming about marrying my knight in shining armor. And when I grew up and I met Ty, he was beyond all of my best dreams. And so we got married only 6 months after our first date, so in love and happy. And 6 months into our marriage, we were living the dream. His father was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And back then, we were still steeped in the conventional realm and thinking. And so we did not know back then what we do today. And so when he had the symptoms, extreme pain, we took him to the emergency room. 2.5 hours into this surgery, the doctors came out and said, it's cancer and it's so advanced and he's so young. And knowing nothing, being completely ignorant about our options, we believed the only thing that would result from that diagnosis was death. And within 25 days later, he had died. And we realize now, we thought it was a cancer back then, but it was actually the surgery. It was a botched surgery. They did not sew him up properly, and he bled to death. But they said it was a cancer, and we know that's not the case now. 6 months after that tragedy, we experienced the loss of his father's father. And then 6 months later, his father's brother, and then his cousin Glenn, And then a few years later, his mother's mother, his mother's father, and finally his mother all left planet Earth due to they with cancer, a lot of them due to the conventional cancer treatments. Along the way from 1996 to 2004, when we lost his mother, we did a lot of research and we realized there were many better ways than the one that we knew. And if we would have known those things from the beginning, we would still have his parents and family members, most likely. And so we knew we had to get the information out to the ends of the earth. So in 2006, we self published a book called Cancer Step Outside the Box. It went to the top of the charts. Our goal was to reach every person on planet Earth with the truth about cancer and that there are options and cancer does not have to be a death sentence. And so with that book, we reached hundreds of thousands of people. And in 2014, we started our documentaries. And now we're reaching millions of people. And we meet people regularly now that say they watched our films, they read our books, they did what they learned to do after being sent home to die, and they are alive and cancer free to tell their story. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And we still have billions of people to reach. And make no mistake about it, Ashley, we will reach them.
Absolutely. When you were doing the research on cancer, when your eyes started to open, what statistics shocked you about cancer in this day and age?
Yeah, so some of the most shocking statistics for us were just the inefficacy of chemotherapy and radiation. We're told that that's our only option typically. If you go to a Western medical doctor in the U.S. specifically, you're going to get chemo radiation most likely recommended. But once we started looking into the real statistics and the real success rates, we found out that they were abysmal. And so I think the shocking part to us was that they not only didn't work very well, but they were the only option, and they were the only thing that doctors were taught about. And the thing that really irritated me specifically was that, I felt like that I was angry that I lost mom and dad because they didn't know that there were other options outside of chemo radiation surgery that they could use. And we just felt like people were dying because of a lack of knowledge. And and throw insult to injury, when doctors in the United States do try to prescribe something outside of the ordinary, oftentimes they're mocked by their peers, they're ridiculed, sometimes they lose their medical license, and sometimes they're kicked out of the country, they're chased out of the country by the very agencies like the FDA that are supposed to be protecting us and providing healing modalities for us that are approved. Those doctors are forced to go practice somewhere else because they used something that wasn't, quote, approved by the FDA. And so those are things that really kicked us in the hiney, I guess, and got us rolling on our research, because those were things that really angered us, that people were dying because they just had a lack of knowledge.
It's so true. You have such an amazing perspective, having interviewed all these experts who, on a regular basis, help people to reverse cancer. I'm sure you've had this question before, at least you've thought it in your mind. If you today had a diagnosis of cancer, what would you do knowing everything you know now?
I'd continue doing the same things that I do now, but probably be a little bit stricter. So one of the things that we've learned over the years is that cancer is not a death sentence. It's very preventable. There are lots of building blocks to being healthy, and if you participate in those building blocks, then you have a very good chance of not getting cancer and never dying from cancer. So, for instance, I eat a clean diet now. But I would probably cheat a little bit less, or maybe never cheat, if I were diagnosed with cancer. Right now, I exercise almost every day, doing a rebounder, and I sit in a sauna to sweat. But if I were diagnosed, I'd probably never miss a day. I would just probably tighten up the protocol that I currently am using, because I really believe that the best treatments are also the best preventions. And so I think that a lot of the things that we're doing to prevent are also would be good to treat. I would definitely get under the care of a medical doctor or a naturopath at that time to begin, testing, doing blood work, testing levels, and so forth, that I'm not doing now. So that would be definitely one thing that would change. But as far as the way that I'm eating, the way that I'm exercising, detoxifying, I'd probably just try to kick it up a notch a little bit, but wouldn't do too much differently, because I think that if I knew all these things that I know and have learned from the doctors over the years and didn't practice them, then I'd be a hypocrite. So I'm already practicing what I know that I believe will keep me healthy. But if I did face that diagnosis, I think the one thing that would change is I would get under the care of a good doctor that could help develop a treatment protocol and monitor the levels and watch as the cancer disappeared.
You'd mentioned a clean diet, but there's so much controversy around what a clean diet looks like. What you've interviewed so many people and have so much experience around this. What constitutes a clean diet that helps our body to eliminate cancer healthfully? Because cancer happens every day in our body. Our immune system comes along and cleans it up. So I love in your series you teach, don't be afraid of it. You don't have to like get the fear mentality from the oncologist and rush into surgery next week, or they try to rush you into chemotherapy right away. We have time. And I love that in The Truth About Cancer, so many of the experts say, like, slow down, get out of stress response, get out of the stress mode, and let's build a plan and go and interview your doctors. You don't have to hire the first oncologist. You don't have to hire the first naturopath you see. And it just helps people to create a plan of action. And I just love that. What diet have you seen have the greatest amount of success in helping people to prevent and reverse disease like cancer?
Well, I can speak to that first, and then maybe Ty can add his thoughts. We have seen when we say clean, we mean non-GMO, organic, real foods. Most of the foods that Americans are eating aren't even real foods. They're so processed, synthetic, and the body starts attacking itself because it doesn't know what to do with this stuff because it's not food. So for the cancer patient, like you're saying, I like to tell people they need to take it slow. They need to realize that cancer didn't grow overnight, so there's no rush. The first thing they really need to do is educate themselves. They need to understand the options. They need to understand the body. They need to understand what's good for the body, the immune system. They also need to understand it's a full body approach from head to toe. It's mind, spirit, and body. And so we have toxicity that we need to detox, not only from our bodies through rebounding and the sauna and different fasting and supplementations, but also in the mind. If we are dealing with a lot of anger or resentment or those things, one thing Ty saw and brought home from Asia, which he recently went to Asia. We're going to do a documentary, The Truth About Cancer. The Asian edition, we'll release that next year. But every doctor in Asia said something that we did not know before. Every case of cancer there was directly related to something in the mind, something in the heart. There was a connection to bitterness. Something went wrong. A relationship went bad. There was something that caused a root of bitterness that was literally eating into their body physically. And so if we could tap into that and become free in our hearts and our minds, forgiveness goes a long way, just to break free from these bitter roots. And then in the body, the diet, the specific diet that we've seen that really works is, for example, Chris Wark. He says he realized he needed to overdose on nutrition. So everything that he put into his mouth, he realized it was either going to fight the cancer or it was going to feed the cancer. And so in his case, he did a lot of juicing, and he did big salads that everything in the salad was a cancer killer. So when we say eat clean, and if you're diagnosed with cancer, that would be the optimal way to go. There's also the ketogenic diet, and maybe Ty might want to talk about the ketogenic. That's amazing. We've learned about that more recently than I think a lot of other things. Ty, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So basically, Ashley, when we say clean diet, as Charlie mentioned, organic, non-GMO, there are different diets that work for different people. Ketogenic diet has worked well for some people, but not for others. The raw food diet worked well for some people, maybe not as well for others. Some people are vegans. That works for some people. It doesn't for others. There's a million different combinations of what people could think when they hear eat a clean diet. So we try to become agnostic when it comes to diets. In other words, we try not to push a particular diet on someone. Sometimes people are so into a particular diet that it almost becomes a religion to them. And if somebody eats anything different than they do, they feel like they're a heretic and they can't be healthy because they're not following their specific diet plan. We prefer to take a bird's eye view and say, look, eat as close to nature as you can, eat organic and raw if you can, non-GMO. If you decide to eat meats, make sure they're clean, they're raised in a humane way. There's no hormones and antibiotics. If you eat animal products, make sure that they're treated well. But we try not to say you should eat only these things or only those things. People are different. There's a movie called Captain Fantastic with Viggo Mortensen, and he plays a man that lives out in the woods that raises his kids out in the middle of nowhere, and they know how to kill game they grow their own garden. They know how to live out in the middle of nowhere. They're survivalists. And one of the kids in the movie, it's just a funny scene. He's talking to a girl, and she said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Bodeman." And she said, "Bodeman? I've never heard of that name." And he said, "Well, mom and dad said there's nobody on earth like me, so we all have unique names." And I think that we can apply that to the diet. We're all individuals, and what might work for someone may not work for someone else, even in the same family. Um, to continue on the Captain Fantastic thread, they're sitting in a restaurant. They're going to a funeral. They're sitting in a restaurant, and keep in mind these are kids that grow their own food and live out in the wilderness and eat herbs and roots. And Viggo Mortensen opens up a menu and he looks at it, and after about 2 minutes, after reading French fries and ice cream and cake and hot dogs, he gets up. He said, "We're leaving. There's not a single piece of real food on this menu." So I think if we kind of take that to heart and we just look at a bird's eye view of what you should be eating, it should be real food as close to nature as possible, and what the combination of herbs and fruits and vegetables and grains and animal products that is, I think that can be an individualized choice.
Really well said. And I love exactly what you mentioned, because we can use food as medicine, but not all medicine is like, not everyone should take the same medicine. So get as close to nature as possible so we can avoid all the man made stuff and listen to our body, work with really good practitioners that'll help us to dial it in based on our needs. I've had several great interviews about the ketogenic diet and using it like to support the body in that way, but you're right, not everyone resonates with that. So it's not a cookie cutter thing, but one thing is for sure, eating more whole foods and eating organic is healthy for everyone. So I like that you brought that up.
And Ashley, real quick, just to elaborate on the ketogenic diet, the principle behind it is a very sound principle. People with cancer, the cancer cells are fermenting sugar for energy, and so by going to a ketogenic diet, a high-fat, medium protein, low-carb diet, you're taking away the fuel for the cancer. So it's a very sound scientific principle, and we know that it's worked in thousands of cancer patients, both human and in animal. So we know that it's worked, but there's certainly, we don't want to say that there's any magic bullet that's going to always work for everyone.
Got it. That's right. So my friend who spent the last 2 years implementing everything that she learned from the Truth About Cancer and working with naturopaths and oncologists, I went to many of her interviews with these doctors as she built her team, and she got to fire some doctors. It was a lot of fun, how much the Truth About Cancer empowered her while she built her team. She ended up going with, after many months of supporting her body naturally, she ended up going with metronomic chemotherapy. And she would love to know what you think of, or the information you've received about this new wave of treatments, these new, immunotherapy treatments and metronomic chemotherapy for advanced stages of cancer.
Well, I'm not familiar specifically with metronomic chemotherapy. Is that a chemotherapy that's based upon like the RGC blood test or whatever that's been specific to that person's blood type? Is that metronomic? Because I'm not familiar with the term.
It is very tiny. It's using chemotherapy on a very small scale,
Like
and
IPT.
Oh, okay,
they
got it.
they also use insulin, I believe, so that, and they have it
Yeah,
attached
that's
to
IPT.
a glucose molecule so that the
Got it.
cancer cell uptakes it. So it's like a killing agent.
Okay.
She hasn't experienced any very few symptoms of chemotherapy
Yeah.
because she spent months supporting her body, and then she's also doing this very kind of low dose. But they're touting, immunotherapy and these sort of new types of chemotherapy out there as being the
Yeah.
new wave of treatments.
Let me address that. And Charlene she just said, yeah, that's the metronomic chemotherapy is a synonym for what we would think of as IPTLD. So the term that I'm familiar with is insulin potentiated low dose targeted chemo, and
Right.
apparently that's the same thing as metronomic chemotherapy. So it's using about anywhere from a fifth to the tenth of a normal dose of chemo, and then it's also coupling that with insulin to be able to target the cancer cells. Once they get to a point where the cells are hungry, they open up for the insulin, and the insulin delivers to the low dose chemo. It's been very effective in many parts of the world. I just got over a tour of Asia in July and probably interviewed half a dozen Asian doctors that are using IPTLD along with other therapies. It's very effective at killing cancer cells. It does not have typically any side effects because the dose of the chemo is so low and it's very targeted. But they're all using that in addition to other treatments as well, dietary changes, exercise, detoxification, and so forth. But if you're going to do chemo, that would be the kind of chemo that we would recommend, is the lower dose, because the chemo that's full dose always has side effects. So this is a way that you can actually kill the cancer and still not have the sickness associated with. The issue is sometimes we treat the wrong thing when we're treating our cancer. So if people look at a cancerous tumor that they have and they say, okay, well, we're going to take chemo to shrink that tumor, and the tumor is cut in half within a month, and then they're told by their oncologist, hey, that was a successful treatment, you're in remission. Well, the reality is that the tumor is just a symptom that there's something that's not level in your body, that your body's out of homeostasis. And as a result of a lack of homeostasis, as a result of your immune system not working the way that it should, then the tumor forms. It's a symptom that you need to get your body back in order. And so if we shrink the tumor only, but don't do other things to correct the underlying imbalance, then we can have some problems that occur later. And that's why so many times we hear the story of somebody that went in for chemo and the tumor did shrink, but then a year later, the oncologist says, we've got bad news. Now the cancer's back, but it's not just breast cancer. Now it's all over your body. Well, the reason is that the cancer was a symptom that there was something wrong, and they didn't do anything to correct the underlying imbalance, and so the cancer comes back. So the long answer to your question is, yeah, the metronomic or IPTLD chemotherapy is an option, but it should always be used in conjunction with other treatment therapies. Immunotherapy is one of many. The problem with a lot of immunotherapies, at least in the USA, is that they are still using drugs as immunotherapies, as opposed to using food or herbs as your immunotherapy, right? Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Well, when we're using drugs to stimulate the immune system, it's kind of the same principle as using vaccines to stimulate the immune system. There are other, better, more natural ways that don't have the side effects. And so that's what we encourage people to do, is to stick as close to nature as you can in your treatments and in your foods.
You mentioned avoiding these toxins, these pollutants by going organic. That could be one of the root causes of the underlying cause of that tumor. And you mentioned the emotions, which, is also confirmed with the late Dr. Hammer's work in metamedicine, where he uncovered that emotions could be are at the root cause of a lot of diseases. And so there's emotions. We need to look at the emotional and mental body and do healing work around that. Toxins, detoxifying the body, and then start putting fuel on the fire. Stop intaking the toxins. What other root causes of cancer have you learned about?
I think that if we look at cancer, that's a disease that's not only a result of nutritional deficiency, but also an overburden of toxicity, that we need to look at the toxins that we're being exposed to today. So the toxins that are in the water, the toxins in the air, the toxins on the foods. There's invisible toxins that we're exposed to now that even 30 years ago we weren't, when we look at electromagnetic radiation and electromagnetic frequencies. So we're really living in a slew of toxicity all the time. And so I really believe, and I think the research shows this, and even the American Cancer Society shows this on their own website. There's a cancer facts and figures PDF that you can download, and they even admit that approximately 80% of cancers are due to environmental toxicity and lifestyle choices. So we're just exposed to a lot of toxins, our immune system is compromised because of the toxicity, and then we get sick. And as you mentioned earlier, we're always producing cancer cells, but an immune system that's functioning properly is able to contain them. But an immune system that's compromised by this slew of toxicity, that's when it's dangerous for us.
What healthy habits have you adapted and have you learned about that boost the immune system? So you talked about rebounding, you talked about sauna therapy. Can you go into what you do for keeping a strong immune system?
Sure. Yeah. Like, so on a daily basis, I sit in the sauna, as I mentioned earlier, to sweat because your skin is a major organ of detoxification. I jump on a rebounder to stimulate the lymphatic flow because that's a good way not only to carry nutrients to the cells through your lymph, but also to detoxify the cells. I try to do a regular exercise program at least 3 or 4 days a week. So those are things that are easy for anyone to do. I think we live in a world that the lifestyle is so easy for us that many people, if they look back on the last 24 hours and they ask themselves, did I actually sweat? Your audience probably can say yes, but most people today probably will look back and say, I don't think I sweated yesterday, or maybe this week. The only time I sweated when I was walking out from my house to my car. So I think that we are with technological advancements there's downsides as well, and so I think we've become too sedate, and we're just not moving our bodies. We're not detoxifying our bodies in a natural way that God made them, through sweating, through lymphatic drainage, or whatever. So, I mean, I think that those are keys to staying healthy. It's just kind of living the way that, maybe think about the way that your grandparents lived 100 years ago, and try to kind of go back to the way that you would have imagined them in their daily routine, because cancer was almost non-existent at that point. And I'll let Charlene add here. I know she's got some input as well.
I think that I just agree with, of course, everything that Ty said. We live together, so it's an active uh, detoxification process. Unfortunately, it's as if we're a little tea bag steeped in toxins. This world is a very toxic place. We've got glyphosate being poisoned or sprayed just everywhere, and so in our yard we don't use any of that. We have a gardener that comes, but we are very clear with him and letting him know we only do non-toxic things in our yard so that our pets are safe, we're safe, our children are safe from that. The personal products we use are all organic, free from the toxins that are infused in these products that cause cancer, chemicals, estrogen mimickers, hormone disruptors. And our skin, we have no line of defense. At least when we eat food, we have enzymes and things that protect us from a lot of the poisons we're ingesting when we're not eating carefully. But on our skin, there's no line of defense. So whatever we put in our skin goes straight into our system. So we want to be careful about what we're putting on our skin, what the beauty products, the deodorants, the shampoos, conditioners, and all those things. And also, what do we clean our dishes with, and our clothes and our houses? What kind of cleansers are we using? And so we've cleaned that up as well. We've pretty much cleaned everything around us up as much as we can. And Wi-Fi, with 5G coming, that is so destructive to our bodies. We see studies being done where they've already rolled out 5G, and there are just so many problems. Babies, stillborn births, health issues is just on the rise. So we also like to encourage everyone to get some kind of device in their house if they can, to mitigate that Wi-Fi. And if they can't get a device, just simply turn their phones off, put it on airplane mode, or turn them off to stop that device from emitting the harmful radiation. Turn off your Wi-Fi at night so that you're not constantly being steeped in that Wi-Fi. So it's just a matter of thinking, from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, what are you touching? What are you ingesting? What are you putting on your body? What are you exposed to? And even to your thoughts and your mind. All those things have to be detoxified on a regular level, on a regular basis. Every day we need to think about what we're doing and make them routines and habits. Ty just mentioned earlier today that 21 days makes a habit. And so these things we can do one at a time and make new habits, and let these habits be good habits. Let's stop the bad habits and work at filling those areas with good habits. So it's detoxifying our entire life for our children and for ourselves, and helping to share this information like what you're doing, Ashley, through this podcast with the world, to help them to learn there is a better way, a non-toxic way, a healthy and happy way to live.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, everything you said. I just had an expert on about 5G, and it really blows my mind. We need to really step up our game to protect ourselves. My router, I have an off switch. We almost never turn the Wi-Fi on, only when we need to. I've just everything I've learned from all the guests I've had on the show, I actually notice a difference, and I notice a behavioral difference in my son when we stopped having Wi-Fi. We live out in the country, just like 45 minutes outside Seattle, so luckily we don't have any Wi-Fi around us. When we turn off our Wi-Fi, there's no more Wi-Fi, but when we turned off our Wi-Fi, I noticed my son was calmer, and he's 3 years old, so he's a ball of energy. Well, I thought that was really interesting, just doing that, really being conscious of the electromagnetic radiation, and reducing that in his life has made a difference in his behavior. So it's got to make a difference internally if it was expressing in his behavior, which I thought was so interesting.
There is a mind and body, there is definitely a
Mm-hmm.
mind and body connection to healing and health. And that right there, what you're sharing with us is proof. And so, yeah, detoxifying our environment really, and with as mommies with children, we want them to be all they were created to be. And how can we do that unless we are detoxifying the environment?
Mm-hmm.
And the 5G is one big part of the equation. So good for you for doing that for your family.
I did that after I interviewed Dr. Diedrich Klinghardt, and he said that he noticed a huge difference when he eliminated Wi-Fi in autistic children, because the heavy metals, it was vibrating the heavy metals at 60 hertz inside their neurology, inside their brain. And so what that is one of the first things he does with his autistic patients is remove Wi-Fi and then do a heavy metal detoxification, and also support nutritionally. But that was enough. And my son he's not on the spectrum. He doesn't display those symptoms. He just acts like a normal hyper kid. I turn off the Wi-Fi, and I just noticed he was just more himself and calmer. I thought, man, if it's affecting him, what is it doing to all of us, and what's it doing to all of the adults out there, especially with 5G coming in? So I'm really glad that you're spreading this information. We need to wake people up and help them understand that what's invisible it could be killing us, or at least harming us significantly, and dampening our quality of life.
Yeah, Ty, at one point, he went to New York City. He was going to be on Fox News, and he could tell you about it. He stayed in a hotel room. It was just like a closet. It was so small, but the Wi-Fi was just everywhere. It's so crowded there. So you live in the country, and even turning on off your own Wi-Fi was such a benefit and blessing to your child and to your family. Ty said when he was there with the voluminous amount of Wi-Fi compared to what we're used to, he literally physically felt sick. Do you want to talk about that, Ty?
Yeah, there's in New York City, there's just so much Wi-Fi. There's so many routers. There's so many cell towers close. I mean, at any time you probably look up for different internets available on your phone, and there would be 10,000 or something. I mean, it's insane how much you're exposed to, and it just felt like it was almost like I was being constantly uh, like exposed to something that was making me. It was like a little bit of drip of caffeine all night long when I'm trying to sleep, and just making me anxious. And I felt that the whole time I was in New York City. It was just an energy that made me feel like I could never relax. And I'm certain that it was all of the exposure to the dirty electricity there.
Yes, I've heard that feeling of restlessness and anxiety can absolutely be caused by too much electromagnetic pollution, and all the signals, the cell tower, the Wi-Fi, now with the 5G coming in, that's just so much more intense. Oh, while you guys were filming The Truth About Cancer, can you share with us some of the most powerful lessons that that shocked you? Because you already knew so much going into it because you had spent so much time researching. But I know that as you travel the world filming for The Truth About Cancer, you were learning more and more through these interviews. What were like some of the lessons you learned that shocked you the most?
I think I was the most shocked about when we got to Netherlands. We went to United Kingdom, went to Latvia, went to Germany, went to Netherlands, and I think one of the and this is probably not the slant that you were looking for, but the most shocking to me was in Netherlands. You go to Amsterdam, and it's a city that is known for you can get any drug that you want there, right? I mean, it's just everything's legal, and so people go to Amsterdam to go party and get whatever they want. Well, I was speaking at a conference there, and I said it must be awesome here because you can get high THC cannabis oil here, and high THC cannabis oil has been proven to be effective at over 13 different types of cancer. Studies over the last 30 years at Harvard Medical School, in Japan and Sweden. I mean, there's a lot of studies that show that high THC cannabis oil is very effective cancer treatment. They said they can't get it in Amsterdam, so that you can get cocaine, heroin, opium, whatever on the streets, but they cannot get high THC hemp oil or cannabis oil because maybe it's just too healing. I don't know, but that was just one of the craziest things to me in a city where you can get anything else. They don't have access to high THC hemp oil. So that was just kind of a bizarre piece of trivia that I had no idea, because I just assumed if you're gonna be sick, this would be a great place to be because you can get pretty much anything that you need here. And they said no, actually they had to go to Germany to get the high THC cannabis oil because you can't get it in Amsterdam.
And I have to add, this is a different slant. I think that Ty will agree with what I'm going to say. I think that the most shocking thing outside of that, as far as the actual research that we were doing, Ty interviewed a brilliant man named Matthias Rath. And what we learned from him was that the chemotherapy agents and the chemicals and the different things that were happening. Maybe you could explain the history behind the pharmaceutical companies and the cartels that were linked to Nazi Germany. The camps that were built over there were not built by Hitler, but by IG Farben, by pharmaceutical companies, and their slave labor there were the ones that were doing all of the grunt work. And when they were finished with them and there was just about no more life left in them, they literally threw them in the gas chambers. And Hitler said, well, those camps are already there, so pretty much we might as well use them. That was Auschwitz. And that was the most barbaric of all the camps, concentration camps in Germany. Ty, do you want to expand on that a little bit? Or
No, you covered it.
Yeah, that was shocking. And that's covered in the first episode of The Truth About Cancer, A Global Quest. And it was a brilliant interview, and it was a shock to get to that level of knowledge.
Yeah, let me add a little bit to it. So the IG Auschwitz, which was the company that built Auschwitz, the parent company was IG Farben, and that was a conglomeration of Bayer, Hetsch, and BASF, which were big pharma. And so, as Charlene said, they built the concentration camps to house the labor for their manufacturing plants. So it wasn't the Germans, the Nazi party that built them. It was actually big pharma.
Right. That just blows my mind. And now Bayer has bought Monsanto, and it's almost like if the devil existed, it would be the CEO of big pharma, right? Which
absolutely.
it's like the plot of a crazy, weird sci-fi evil movie. When you look at it, it just seems so out there that we walk around every day giving our money over to a company that has massacred millions of people, and that it's legal and that they're getting away with it.
And one of the best ways that we can fight that is with our pocketbook. So just don't buy their stuff. And if more people would talk with their pocketbook instead of just protesting or writing articles or whatever. Not that anything's wrong with that, but if you actually just stop buying the stuff, if enough people stop buying, that's really the thing that determines what products they put on the market. And if people stop buying their crap, they'd stop producing as much crap.
Absolutely. And they won't stop buying it if they don't know. And actually, that's why what you're doing is so important. You're educating people. That's what we do. And once they realize and understand the truth, then they can make that decision based on truth. and facts, and stop buying the poison and put them out of business, from Monsanto to Bayer to big pharma and what
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to sell.
And I mean, I'm sure you saw the recent $289 million judgment against Monsanto for glyphosate from the man that was working for the school system out in California that got non-Hodgkin lymphoma from spraying glyphosate. So that's the first of many thousands of lawsuits that are coming against Monsanto.
Good. I am so glad that we are all helping people to learn this, because I love we're in the age of information where they can't, the powers that be that try to stop this, they can't stop it. And so we're going to get this information out there, and we're going to help as many people as possible. And I'm just so excited that you guys, you're such a powerhouse. How many people do you think, I mean, I know you can't track how many people have shared, because like I bought the Truth About Cancer DVD set, and that, you know, the downloads, and I've shared it with people in my life that need to watch it. Same with the Truth About Vaccines. And so I know you can't track that, but the digital views, how many people have viewed the Truth About Cancer?
Well, if we're talking about the global quest between the digital views and the DVD sales that we know have taken place, between all of the 9 episodes, we've had over 10 million views
Oh,
of
I
Global
love it.
Quest. When you throw in the other documentaries and all of the other shorts that we have out there online, I think we have over 20 million total views. But the Global Quest alone, the 9 episodes, I think there's over 10 million people that have seen it.
Excellent. So millions of people. I know it's a drop in the bucket because it's not billions yet, but still, it's spreading. That's still a huge amount of people to that are gonna be like little soldiers to share this information. I know my listeners share these episodes with their friends and family. We can get this information out there, that there are natural and safe alternatives to healing the body, to reversing disease. We do not need to wait to get sick to then go to a doctor. That's the paradigm they want us to believe through their marketing. They want us to have that mentality, and we need to wake up and not be victims. We need to advocate for ourselves. To wrap up today's interview and help the listener to begin to advocate for themselves, what actionable steps would you recommend they take to live an even healthier life?
Yeah. Well, I'm just assuming, Ashley, that your listeners are already well on their way to health with the topics and subjects that you cover. Again, I would encourage everyone to think about everything that they touch, taste, everything that they think about needs to be as clean as they can get it to be. Organic, GMO free, thoughts that are filtered through love and patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self control. If there's root of bitterness there, do whatever it takes to forgive and to work through that to a better place, to where there is freedom in their mind and in their souls, so that there could be health in their bodies. Exercise, move, rebound, laugh. A merry heart really is good medicine. There's so much that they can do. I encourage them to continue to listen to you. I encourage them to listen to the Truth About Cancer, a Global Quest, to share it with their friends and family. Just keep doing that. And that's, from what I understand, the pathway to better health.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you here today, both of you. Ty, is there anything you'd like to say to my listeners to wrap up today's interview?
Just want everyone that's listening to remember that our message for the last 20 years has been that cancer is not a death sentence, that there's always hope. And so don't listen to, if you're diagnosed with cancer, don't listen to the oncologist that gives you a death sentence, that says you'll be dead in 6 months or 9 months. They're not God. They don't know. And we've interviewed hundreds of people that were given death sentences that are alive a decade later that their doctor was wrong. So don't give in to fear. There's always hope, and knowledge is power. So empower yourself with the Truth About Cancer, a Global Quest, and it will be able to help you or save the life of a loved one, or maybe your own life down the road. And so we would just encourage people to always maintain hope, and even if it seems like there's no hope for the oncologist. The reason is because the oncologist doesn't know about all these treatments out there that actually work.
Very well said. There are so many more answers out there than the mainstream doctors know about, and that's what we're here to learn. And I love that you cover so many of them. I so appreciate both of you. I really, really, just in my bottom of my heart, love you guys and love what you do. My mom passed away of cancer, and that's why I do what I do. And my dad died of heart
Oh,
disease, and I lost both of them in my 20s. So I
mm,
just want to let you know that I also have that experience, and it's what drives me every day to share this information. I had type 2 diabetes, chronic adrenal fatigue, infertility, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and all those things, and chronic infections. And I resolved all of them with natural medicine in the last 7 years. And so that's why I do this podcast, is because I want everyone to not have any of those illnesses, because they don't have to.
yeah.
And so I just want you to know that what you do every day, like all the work that you do, touches my heart, and I'm so grateful. So thank you. And I'm really your biggest cheerleader, and I tell all my listeners that they need to follow you guys and do everything that you put out there. So thank you.
Wow, that's a real blessing, Ashley. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it sounds like you're just a kindred spirit, and we love you too.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming here today. I'm very excited for all my listeners to watch all of your docu-series and to share it with everyone. We've got to get this information out there and help as many people as possible. I just love what you do. I'm very excited for all your future projects. I can't wait to watch the Asian series of The Truth About Cancer. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank you, Ashley. We really appreciate it. That'll be coming out next April, so look forward then. But we really appreciate the opportunity today.
We sure do. Thank you, Ashley.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.